Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new edition of On the Mark TV and Radio from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm Mark Auerbach, and a lot of art is popping up all over Westfield, and who better than Bill Westerlind to come on the program, as you often do, and tell us about these great programs that you're doing. They're all over social media, and you have changed the face of the arts community in Westfield. We have a theater company. Yep. We have a lot of concerts and music going on. Mm-hmm. We have the Westfield Athenaeum. Yep. We have the Westfield Theater Company. We've got Westfield on weekends.
Yep.
And you guys.
And we have Artworks of Westfield. And, we started this whole adventure way back in 2015, and it's been kind of growing year over year over year to the point right now where it looks and feels like Westfield is becoming recognized as one of those places, one of those art and cultural hubs in Western Mass. So along with all the organizations you had just mentioned, everything is coming together in the city to the point where the city of Westfield has applied to become the 55th or the 56th cultural district in the state. So that's in the application process, and I'm thinking we should be hearing pretty soon about that. But state officials have come out twice to do a site tour, so that's pretty exciting. So, that brings all these disparate organizations together. We're all in the cultural field, but in different genres, which is great. So it adds to that diversity and mixture out there. And the cultural district infrastructure will kind of it'll be the glue to bring that all together. So pretty exciting times.
If that comes to be.
Yep.
That is a real feather in the cap, so to speak, of a lot of efforts that have gone on over the years.
Yes, absolutely.
Give Westfield the visibility outside of Westfield, which is so important. Many years ago, the Springfield Symphony came out to Stanley Park and did a summer series every year. And 5,000 to 10,000 people would show up every Thursday night.
Yep.
And they weren't all from Westfield. They were from Long Meadow, Springfield, the Hill Towns, Northampton. And people would come back and go, wow, Stanley Park is great. Mm-hmm. And it meant that as you drove past Westfield on the Pike, you suddenly knew what was in Westfield.
Yep. There you go.
And
absolutely.
I think that Westfield State, they have a nice art series, but it's really not that accessible to the public because you can't find parking to go to some of those. Yep. But the events that you're doing are in the streets of Westfield. The Athenaeum is bringing in outside groups, Westfield on weekends. And it's not just art, but it's music and theater and everything
Absolutely.
else.
Absolutely. And that's, since inception, we've been trying to include as much as we possibly can. So gallery art, fine artisans, literature. So we're always looking to bring authors, into the city and local authors as well. Concerts. Right now we have the Great Summer Concert Series going on. That's an eight-week series that's been happening since 2018. So there's some longevity in that. We've done dance. We've done poetry. So we're open to any ideas to attract those exhibitions and those performances to downtown Westfield. Since inception, we've been all about downtown Westfield. Others have come and gone. Things have happened in Center City and then have either dissipated or moved to other places. We're insistent on downtown Westfield, with the one exception is our Articulture show in the spring. We do it in the Amelia Park Ice Arena, without the ice, of course. But the nice thing about doing things indoors is you don't have to fret about weather. So our summer concert series, we're already stressing out about Friday because the remnants of a hurricane is supposed to come.
Now, is this a series you're doing in the space that was the old Newberry's?
Yes, it's the Elm Street Plaza. That just opened on May 3rd, May 4th was the dedication. So we moved our Downtown Live Friday night summer concert series, which was across the street by Mina's Wine and Spirits. So Pro Brashimwala was very instrumental in that.
A year ago, you were on the program and you were talking about how exciting this space was going to be. And how has it turned out?
It's been remarkable. One, it's, capacity. I'm going to guess, like right on the infield in front of the stage, the capacity might be maybe 500 people. But what happens is because you're in that unique urban environment, you can see people set up lawn chairs in the parking lots and out front, in front of apartment buildings all around it. And you constantly have this flow of people in and out of the performance space. So there's a really cool vibe. And it adds a lot of vitality and energy to downtown Westfield, and that's been our aspiration since the beginning. And that vibrance in Center City through art and cultural activities and experiences.
How has the weather cooperated with
you?
The
first 5 shows this season, good. Last week we got rained out. This week, man, if you believe the meteorologists, we're going to get rained out, but we do build in 2 rain dates. So we do have August the 23rd and August the 30th built in as open days. We filled one of them. So last week's show is now on the 23rd. That's with Whitaker Hill. And then we have that last date open, which could be Whiskey Traveler, who is scheduled to play this Friday night, so they might be out to the 30th. But short of that, it's been a great season. It's been a really great season. People are very receptive to coming downtown, because of this beautiful space. Plus, with the visibility of people driving across, by Elm Street, they can see all the activity out there. You have food trucks. We have the White Lion Brewery, so it's a great concert space for sure.
And people that are not from Westfield, there's a lot to do in downtown. There are restaurants. There's a new grill opening, but it's a very safe area. It's well lit, and especially around the Circle,
extraordinarily so.
Yeah.
So if you actually go downtown, park your car, get out and walk around. It's very, very pedestrian friendly, albeit, you have Elm Street cutting through the center, which is, a 10 and 202. It's a major thoroughfare. But if you, use the pedestrian walk lights or signals, whatever they're called down there, now they have new flashing ones, just like you see in Northampton or East Hampton, some of those cities. So if you use those, it's a safe place. And the atmosphere at all our Friday night concerts, it's been fun. People are excited, they're happy, they're engaged. It's just been quite a development for the city, and hats off to Mayor McCabe for coming up with that idea to turn that old, they call it the Newbury lot, right? That's the infamous name for it, because when it burned down in 86, 83, whatever, it's literally been a dirt lot since then. Now it's a new space.
10 years ago, 11 years ago, I came to work and do stuff with Westfield News when it was on School Street.
That's right. Yeah.
And I would walk down School Street and look at, there was a bookstore, there were a whole bunch of different restaurants and things around, and I never knew that this existed in Westfield.
Yeah. So that renaissance is continuing to happen. So you have all the art and cultural activities. School Street is now a many little small boutiques and shops. It's a really quaint little shopping district. You had mentioned the new grill, so Tribeca Gastro Bar and Grill. I'll give them a plug. They've been great supporters, and they've turned that old Lamson Square building, which dates back to, 1860?
Yeah, I guess the official opening is very soon.
It's coming up. 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, but people who have been there for soft openings and say it's going to be another landmark.
It is. So that's, they were partially attracted to the city, one, because of the activity they saw. First of all, the parking lot across the street, the 93 spaces, very, very attractive. They got a lot of funding. But the owner, the general manager and one of the co-owners, Tony Long, he was at all our concerts last year. and he's seeing the vibe, and he's feeling what the city was and can be, and saw the potential. And that was a lot of the motivations behind them opening that restaurant. But they had to do some major work on that building. Remember, it dates back to 1860, 1870, whatever it was. So there was a lot of work that they had to do, but also they wanted to maintain as much of that architecture as they possibly can. So I've been in several times on tours as they progress through the process. It's going to be a knockout.
They publish
huge
their menu online. Their
yeah,
menu
pretty impressive.
It's
Pretty
impressive. It's different than most of the other places
absolutely.
around.
And then I think you think about Ray Ray's. Okay, so Ray Ray's is a restaurant. They were up in East Hampton on Cottage Street. So they found Westfield to be attractive enough that they actually pulled out of that thriving space and they came down to Westfield. Another property, they had to do a boatload of work on it, but they did, and they're here. So you can see this rising tide kind of lifting all the boats, and how we fit into that is we're attracting creators from around New England, and they're coming to Westfield to be in our shows, which is exciting. So the artists and creators are looking at us and saying, okay, let's go to Westfield. And then it just attracts people to see them. And now you have all this economic activity in downtown Westfield. So that's been part of the mission.
It's fantastic. And the creative economy is fueling the Berkshires.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like the town of Chester has a nationally known theater in it.
Yep, that's right.
Huntington has the North Hall performance series, which is doing well.
Yep.
And what's going on in Westfield. More and more creatives will want to live here because they want access to this.
Yep. So perhaps you've heard of some of the flux that's happening up in East Hampton with these artist studios and some of the economics that are pressuring them. And then I think, okay, so as they work through that, some of those artists are going to find another place to go, and could that be Westfield? Who knows?
Who knows? If there's inexpensive real estate that they can turn into their studios, then Westfield could be very attractive.
For sure.
I think what's happened in East Hampton is as Northampton fell and East Hampton rose, it's grown so much that it can't, it has to catch up to its economic expectations. And unfortunately, artists don't bring a lot of immediate income to a city.
That's right.
So they look for the next space. It's either going to be Holyoke or Westfield.
Yep, for sure. So that's all the the dynamics that are occurring out there in the marketplace. So we're really excited about the possibilities of Westfield, and we're psyched about this concert series. And then right after the concert series, we go into Artoberfest. That's another downtown art. We got art, literature, music on the streets on the Elm Street sidewalk. So it's like a giant art walk. It goes from the Athenaeum down to the Westfield G&E.
It was the art in October that prompted me to want to get you on the air now to promote that. That's such a great concept.
It's been a huge win for everybody. So again, creators are attracted to it because the uniqueness of that metropolitan setting for an art show is great. Okay, and that attracts the community because they see it and say, wow, that's really cool. I can tell you the amount of positive feedback we get from these shows is just overwhelming. People have it in their calendar. They're looking for that art show specifically. So this year, the difference is going to be the add-on is now we have the Elm Street Plaza, which we've booked. So we're going to use the sidewalk from the Athenaeum. We're right on the plaza in front of the Athenaeum. We're collaborating with the folks at the Athenaeum to have stuff going on inside the gallery and the library. We're going to have artists set up on the sidewalk going down Elm, heading north. You're going to go past School Street. You're going to go to the Elm Street Plaza, and we have enough room to go all the way down to Arnold Street by the Westfield G&E. And then the plaza itself, we're going to use the stage for music. And then within that plaza, we'll have artists set up on the green space on both sides.
Okay, we're going to take a fast break to acknowledge our underwriters. and then we'll be back. I think of you as the ambassador of the arts in Westfield. We'll be back to talk more with Ambassador Bill Westerlind. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program or want to watch it again or share it with your friends, it's archived along with all of our other programs on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. We're chatting with Bill Westerlind, who I think of as the ambassador of the arts in Greater Westfield, because the programs that Artworks have done really draw the community together. It's not a concert, it's not an art exhibition, but it's a lot of participatory arts events that cover town.
Yep.
And I know that you retired from your day job back in March, because we had talked about that when you were on the program.
That's right,
a
last
year
time,
ago.
yeah.
But you're working full-time on all this stuff.
It certainly feels that way, but it's fun work. That's for sure. So, I can dig into it when I want to. I can walk away from it when I want to. So you don't forget, we have a board of directors that are equally involved. And I just want to call out that Artworks of Westfield, we're all citizen volunteers. No one's paid on our group. So everything that we've achieved since 2015 has been done by folks who are dedicated to this mission of bringing this vibrancy and vitality to the city of Westfield through the arts. And the arts, that's all inclusive. So the arts can be music, it can be gallery art, sculpture, dance, poetry, you name it. We're interested in all of that and bringing it to downtown Westfield, and everything we do is free to the community. We never charge anything to go to these shows. So we think of what we do, it's like the three-legged stool. There's 3 key constituencies. One is the creators. So we want to engage creators and bring them to Westfield. And a lot of them are in Westfield already, but we attract people artists from all over New England. 2, community. So how do we engage those creators with the community, bring everyone into downtown Westfield? And then the third leg, we call it commerce, but it's really thinking about the downtown merchants. So you're attracting all these folks, artists, and community to downtown Westfield, which then leads to foot traffic, to the restaurants, to the cafes, to the coffee shops, to the pubs, you name it. So again, I'm going to go back to the notion of that rising tide lifting all boats. That's how we envision everything we do.
Plus, you have a lot of community support in terms of businesses that are sponsoring. I saw it went on your website, and there are a lot of area businesses that are sponsoring the programs that you do. So they're involved too, and you have volunteers.
So everything that we do, you got to pay the bills, right? So all these musicians, of course, they're paid. So we have some very generous sponsors and underwriters and donors, and just going to call out 2 major underwriters this season. The biggest ones that we've had is Westfield Bank, and they are just so community-centric. It's like hand in glove, our philosophy with theirs. And then Aero Fasteners up on the north side. They're new to us, made a generous contribution to what we're doing. And in all the other small businesses that help support the Downtown Live summer concert series, we're all thinking about the same thing. It's all about community, and it's all about these free activities for folks to experience.
So talk about the October program, date, time,
so
what people can
Oktoberfest it's happening a little bit earlier this season. It's going to be September 28th. Rain date is October 5th. Last year we ran into rain, and it washed us out, and that evolved into the Downtown Westfield Winter Walk, which we're doing again, but we'll focus on Oktoberfest. So the 28th of September, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., downtown Westfield. So on Elm Street from the Westfield Athenaeum down to Arnold Street in front by the Westfield G&E, the Elm Street Plaza, artists, authors, live music. We're engaging with the Westfield Athenaeum to do things there. We're engaging with some of the smaller art studios that are downtown. So it's going to be this exhibition space, but it's also, again, engaging a lot of the other community orgs and businesses downtown.
So people that want to find out more, they can go to your website or social media.
Yep. So artworkswestfield.com. Go there. We just had it refurbed and rebuilt, so it looks pretty slick. We're really liking how that came out. And then we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Thread, and artworkswestfield.com. I mean, Artworks Westfield on those different platforms is how you'll find us.
Okay, so the end of September, you need to come to Westfield and be amused and entertained and enlightened. And hopefully all the rain that we've had this summer will have moved out by September.
Fingers crossed, right?
Fingers crossed. So what happens after that?
So after Oktoberfest, then we go right into Downtown Westfield Winter Walk. Well, that's a similar experience. It's downtown. We do have some artists outdoors, but because the seasonal changes, we end up having artists and authors inside of some of the businesses along Elm. So like a traditional art walk where you would have exhibitions inside shops. Also, any open real estate or unused real estate, if we can get into those spaces, if the landlords will let us in, we'll do pop-up galleries in that. We also do, believe it or not, we do a pop-up gallery in the Over Transit Pavilion, which is downtown Westfield. So this is a working transit bus stop, a transit pavilion that we actually set up artists inside of it. It sounds crazy, but you know what? The lighting in that facility, it's all glass. It's beautiful. It just shows the work tremendously well. And then there's the curiosity factor. A lot of people, they complain about that bus station, but they've never, ever been in it. We've surveyed everyone who comes in, and they always say, first time I've been here. So
I drive by it. I mean, I don't take the bus. I drive by it. It's kind of an interesting building.
It's very different than your traditional architecture, but for me, to me, that's okay. And that kind of dovetails with what we do. We try to do unusual. So let me just digress. The concert series this year, we had a punk night. We had 2 punk rock bands. Who ever heard of doing that in a concert series? And then the following week, we had a 19-piece jazz and blues orchestra. So we like to mix it up. We like to do different things. We like to test and see what people like and dislike. And we're attracting a new audience by doing that stuff.
That's great. Next year, do a matinee with a classical music group.
That would be in our wheelhouse.
I'm sure there are people that just don't want to drive at night.
Yeah,
go down
sure.
to some of the things that you
have. Yeah, for sure. So anything new and different, we're willing to give it a go. And you think about Pride Month. You know, we've embraced Pride for the past 4 years doing, we called it Art with Pride. Again, we've done stuff right on the green in downtown Westfield. Again, we're trying to be diverse and embracing everyone in our activities.
I know about it, and I appreciate the fact because although Pride celebrations are happening now in more and more towns.
Absolutely.
Springfield has one, Longmeadow has one. Holyoke, Westfield, Northampton, and stuff like that. What you've done in Westfield is a little bit different because you're really involving the community. It's not a parade that people come to watch or one performance, but it's really a gathering of artists and creators.
Absolutely. It's all part of bringing the entire community together and inviting everyone to come to these things, either participate in actually showing artwork or performing music, or just coming down to walk through the exhibition by a very diverse group of creators, for sure.
You've been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
For years.
Yes.
How has it changed for you doing it all these years? What do you do now that gives you an incredible sense of pride compared to the stuff when you started all this?
Well, I think the biggest source of pride is the recognition for the city and for what's happening in the city. And also, I love to see that now City Hall is very much engaged. I think when we first started, we were just kind of like out doing this stuff, and it was just happening. And now, as that has evolved and as folks have seen how attractive and advantageous it can be for the city to have these activities happening, suddenly folks are paying attention and seeing that this city has so much to offer. And you read study after study after study after study. Art and culture is the foundation of a really strong, robust city. It is. So we're kind of establishing that foundation.
When you look at Pittsfield, that
Yep.
25 years ago was a dump. When GE
Sure, when
closed
GE
down.
closed, yeah.
And then Barrington Stage is on the north side of town.
Yep.
And the Colonial, which is Berkshire Theater Group,
Yes.
is on the south side of town.
Beautiful space.
I've been up to both of them in the
Yep.
last couple of weeks. The restaurants are hopping.
Yeah,
People are walking
yeah.
up and down the
Yep.
streets. And Amtrak schedules trains to Pittsfield now from
That's
New
right.
York.
That's
so
right.
people can participate.
Yep.
What a difference 25 years has made in Pittsfield, boosting it up.
For sure.
That could happen here too.
Absolutely possible, but maybe even probable that will happen in the city of Westfield.
I mean, it's doubtful that we'll get people coming by train.
No, but there are other just the attractiveness of the city, and it's pretty accessible. Old-fashioned automobile travel.
Old-fashioned cars, a nice airport.
Yeah, for sure.
With a great restaurant. And it's happening. And you and Bob Plass from Westfield on Weekends have become sort of the ambassadors of the arts community.
For sure.
Not only here, but outside of Westfield.
And Westfield on Weekends, I think this might be their 20th year anniversary or 21. They've been around for a long time. They've been doing this for a long time. They set the standards way back when. So hats off to them. We work closely with Westfield on Weekends. We're both trying to get to the same space. We're going at it differently, which is fine.
Which is fine. But the other thing is that you've got City Hall behind you now, plus the major funders in town.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not just the fact that they're providing services, but the recognition factor that they appreciate what you're doing.
Yep.
And I think that any business owner in Westfield would want your product or service on the streets because it brings more people downtown.
Absolutely. It's a win-win for everyone. No doubt about it.
Well, Bill Westerlind, always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we'll have you on later in the fall as we move towards the holidays.
Sounds great. Okay. I'll be here. Thank you so much.
We're going to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back with more On the Mark. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And I have one of my favorite guests, Stefan Czaporowski, who's the superintendent of the Westfield Public Schools and also my co-anchor on a series we did back in the spring with the students of Westfield Technical Academy at Barnes Regional Airport.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And we're rerunning that now.
I saw that.
Which has been, I watched the reruns and I thought, this was one of the better collaborations that we've done together, and hopefully we'll be doing some in the fall.
Absolutely.
I want to get backstage or behind the scenes, so to speak, of the music programs in the Westfield schools. And you have a guidance counselor joining me on a program that we're taping at the end of the month to help college seniors get into college.
Right. Well, we have an early college program as well. So if students in Westfield can take in 11th grade a stretch course, so they can take English 101 and English 11 at the same time, and it's co-taught by one of our teachers and a teacher from Westfield, or professor from Westfield State University. They can also do that for history. So in your junior year, you can get 6 college credits while you are taking your regular high school classes as well. Obviously, it's a little more rigorous. And then your senior year, you're able to go up to the college, Westfield State University's campus, and take classes there. And if you can't provide your own transportation, we even provide transportation. So our goal is to try to have students graduating that participate in this program with 15 to 18 credits. And really, that's a semester. But if you want to talk about college readiness, taking college classes will help you get there ahead of time. And I also think there's a cost savings associated with that because our students don't have to pay. So I love our early college program. It's called Westfield Promise, and it's a collaboration between Westfield Public Schools and Westfield State University that I started working on about 10 years ago. And it finally came to fruition in 2015. And then when I became superintendent, we brought it over to Westfield High School.
Yeah, it's a unique program. You don't see that in a lot of school systems.
You don't. I wish it had been available when I was a kid, to be honest with you, because I probably would have taken advantage of that. And I hear good things from our students that are taking advantage of it, and also the folks from Westfield State University. And any student that participates in Westfield Promise is also automatically accepted into Westfield State University if they want to go there. So it's a great little community partnership, which benefits our kids.
How many kids, what's the percentage of kids at Westfield Tech and Westfield High School that go on to college?
So it's interesting because it's been going down. And I think you see that happening in a lot of places. And part of it is, I think, the cost that's associated with college now. But Westfield High School ranges about 80%. I would say between 80, it's been as high as 90, almost 90% some years, but last year was closer to 80. And then the Technical Academy for college, all right, specifically, it's about 25%, but that has varied between the years as well. But some of the kids here will go on to additional technical schools, so I guess they're colleges, right? But so it should be, I would say 40.
You can see aviation 40. Kids were talking about going to Embry-Riddle, which isn't a college per se, but you get a degree.
It's a prestigious school as well, and difficult to get into. And we have kids from culinary that will go into Johnson & Wales University or the Culinary Institute of America. And so is that a college or a tech school? I guess that depends. So, the number of students that are continuing their education somewhere is high at both schools, not necessarily a college or university, though. And again, I think a lot of our students are hesitant because, I've maintained this. I feel like some of our colleges are pricing themselves out of business. It's too expensive for our students to go get these college loans and graduate with the equivalent of a home mortgage.
I have a close friend who has 2 boys, one who's going into senior year in high school and the other who's a sophomore. The senior one is a lacrosse player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just verbally committed to a school that's going to give him a 4-year scholarship.
That is a great deal.
Which is a great deal. The other one is a sports person, but my friend has got to look into paying. She says $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
That is
for college.
To me. That is.
I didn't pay that.
No, and really, so you graduate. Let's say with even $300,000 worth of debt. How do you get out from under that?
You don't. At least maybe at some point you will, but that's
20, 30 years down the road. So how are you able to buy a house, a car, the other things? I guess it's just become, so college isn't affordable anymore. And so I think you're starting to see kids from every community look at other options. And I think you've also seen an increase in the popularity of vocational trade type schools or technical schools, because you're able to go out into a career right away, making pretty decent money. And you can continue your education at your pace at a different level, which I see some kids now doing too. And in some cases, the employer will actually pay a portion of your continuing education as well if it's related to the workplace. So people are trying to figure out other ways to pay for it, because $80,000 to $100,000 a year it's really unconscionable. I mean, that's just too much.
It is. So school goes back very shortly.
Yes.
And you're going to have a new school.
Not until the January, but yes. But that is complicating an interesting part of our school year, because we're doing a mid-year move. So we're moving over the holiday break in December.
So no Christmas vacation for you.
And one of the things that, so the teachers need time to move too. So for everybody grades 1 through 12 in Westfield, the first day of school is a full day, and it is August 29th, a Thursday. But for the students that attend Abner Gibbs and Franklin Avenue School, they're going to start on the 28th, and they're going to have a half day on the 28th and then another half day on the 29th, so the teachers can start collaborating. There are other half days as we get closer to the year, so that teachers can move, at least pack and move their stuff up. And then we have hired movers, obviously, to take everything and move it to the new school. Ideally, you'd like to move over a summer. But this school was scheduled for completion in August, so this month. But then in the end, there's an electrical switch that we're waiting for, some kind of switch that still is, had a long-term waiting list from the COVID era, and so. We're not able to open until January, but we're very excited. I mean, I just drove by again. Every time I drive by, it looks fantastic.
Every time I drive into the studio, and it's starting to look complete.
It really is, and the windows are all in, the awnings, and they've even built in the.
Obviously, you've been inside it, right?
Not in a bit, but Pete's going inside, from what I understand, and doing a little tour for us, so that we'll have a video tour, so that we'll be able to show the families and the students, what their classrooms are going to look like and everything else. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
Are the teachers and the kids excited about this move?
Yes. I mean, it's interesting too. Change is difficult, right? And both schools, Franklin and Abner, do not have air conditioning. Now they're going into a place that's air conditioned. But when you've taught in a building for 20 some odd years, you do get attached to your space. But I think the excitement about having the classrooms are just a nice big size. I don't know if you've ever been to Abner Gibbs, Mark, but the classrooms are tiny. And so they're going into these huge rooms with lots of storage and 2 sinks. And it's just, I can't wait till it opens and people can see it. And I hope you'll come and see it as well. It just, this is going to be a state-of-the-art school. It is, but a state-of-the-art school for 50 years or more. I mean, it's built to last. And I think as you drive by, you can see it's big.
Yeah. So what happens to the 2 old schools?
So Franklin Avenue School will get torn down. And that's where the new playground will be, and we're putting in a softball field. And incidentally, for the students at Westfield Tech Academy, they need a softball field. Right now they play at Whitney, and they'll have a new field to play. But also, and the community can use it too. But that'll be the playground. So there's a separate courtyard for pre-K and K, which is enclosed. And then the regular playground will be on the other side of the building where the current Franklin is. Abner, whether we surplus it or keep it it for a while for storage. We do have a storage issue in our schools, like where we can put things. And it's particularly our records that we're required to save, some up to 50, 60, 70 years. And there are paper copies. I mean, you could scan them, but that is an expense. So we're still looking at that possibility. Again, either we'll surplus it or we will use it for storage for now. But we also know that at the end of this current school year, Fort Meadow Early Childhood Center, which is as old as Abner Gibbs, will also be closing. So, we're going to have that building to manage as well.
I know last spring there were budget issues. I don't know how much of them got resolved. But what kind of challenges are you going to face in the new school year?
I think in terms of budgeting, it's the unforeseen costs that pop up, which happen some years more than others. But every time, for example, if a student is on an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, and then their IEP changes and requires them to go out of district, we have to pay for that, but we haven't budgeted for it. So it might be some of those schools charge as much as $60,000 to $100,000 a year, and those will impact our budget. In terms of staffing, I will say this though, this isn't necessarily a challenge, it's a good thing. We're seeing many more applicants than we had seen for jobs in the last few years. And I think through COVID, we had vacancies that we simply could not fill, and we are almost at full staffing capacity this year, which is good for our students, of course, and our schools. But that's where some of the remaining funds had come. For example, we were able to pave the upper campus parking lot here. We have new tennis courts at Westfield High School opening up this year. A lot of capital projects are going on. We have a $1 million boiler room remodel, new boiler project at Westfield Intermediate School. So there are a lot of good things happening in our schools in terms of projects too. So it's not just having, in general, if I had to summarize, we're very optimistic about the start of this school year.
Did you get a break between last year and the upcoming year?
A little. I took vacation days here and there, yeah. And I was able to go to the Cape, but that was even a work conference too. So, there's a lot to do this summer. It was a busy summer. It's been a busy summer. Planning for the opening of a new school, that's not something that you do. And this is the first new school I've ever opened, right? So this is my 9th year as superintendent. The amount of work that goes into it is a lot. So planning for that. And just as a district, we're focusing on achievement, attendance of students, and so trying to get those pieces into play that occurs at all schools takes a lot of planning, and so we've been working on that. And again, but we're excited. I think I don't know that we're ever going to be over the COVID era that I referred to earlier, but I think it's starting to feel every year that goes by it gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, people are still getting sick. People still have a mindset of being remote and all that, but it gets less and less.
Less and less, and I think, I know there's been an uptick in COVID this summer, right? We've heard about that, and that does make me nervous. We obviously don't want that in our schools because that'll affect attendance, but we don't want you to come to school sick. So it's a conundrum. The state actually. They don't have, they rate schools based on student attendance. And so in terms of their accountability status or what level you're at or whether or not you need assistance. But at the same time, so they don't have any excused absences. So even if a student is out 5 or 10 days for COVID, to them it's not an excused absence, even though at our level we will excuse that absence. It does not count at the state. So when you hear these chronically absent students, and that is a byproduct of COVID. That is resulted as part of COVID. So students that are out more than 18 days in a year or more than 10% of the school year are considered chronically absent. So we're also trying to work on that so that we, and that means creating a safe and secure environment for our kids so that they want to come to school, so they feel comfortable. And while we always work on that, there are things that we have to do more, I think, to encourage students to come to school. At the same time, we don't want them to come to school sick, though, because then they're going to get everybody else sick, and then your attendance goes ways down. I'm not sure it's a battle where we can overwhelmingly win, but I think we can certainly make a dent and improve our attendance percentages.
Sounds good. We're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters that make your program, Superintendent Spotlight, and my programs On the Mark and ArtSpeed possible. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We'll be right back.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm chatting with Stefan Czaporowski, who's the superintendent of the Westfield schools. He has a program here on Thursday mornings. Right?
Thursday morning. We are premiering September 4th, I believe. Yes.
So your show's on a hiatus?
It goes on hiatus for the summer.
Oh, okay. I wonder if they show reruns.
Pete, do we show reruns? Probably.
Yeah.
No.
Best of shows.
Bobby G takes over and does a 4-hour show.
Oh, so other shows might take over. Okay.
So you're looking forward to being back on the
Absolutely. I was almost tempted to say welcome back to Superintendent Spotlight when we came
go
back
ahead
after
and say
that.
it.
No, that's okay. It's all right. But our combined shows, I want to go back to those because we those came out really good, and I still want to say we have some impressive students here in Westfield schools.
And I got to say, not only are the students impressive, but Galen Wilson, who runs the aviation program, he was just one of the best guests ever.
So I've learned if you bring people on and ask them to talk about things that they're passionate about, it goes really well. And he is, I think I've said this to you before, everyone that I've met that is in aviation is super passionate about it. They love it. And that's a good thing for folks that fly in planes like you and I. We want them to love their job and love what they do so that our planes are safe. But I'm just really impressed with the quality of student that comes out of that program.
Not only that, I was so impressed with the enthusiasm that the staff at Barnes Airport have towards this program, and the guard has towards the program, because we did 2 shows together, and I did a third with Chris Willenborg.
That's right, you did.
Colonel Moon. And, I've been out at Barnes a couple of times this summer. In fact, I'm covering theater up in Chester on alternate Fridays, and stopped there for lunch. And I was with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and we watched this huge tanker land and limousines coming out of the back. It was the day before Kamala Harris.
I was going to say, Kamala Harris came here.
Thing in Pittsfield, and see the Secret Service, and Barnes was just buzzing. And I kept looking over at the student hangar because the biplane that we sat underneath when we were doing our show was out on the tarmac.
I think I wish she had come during the school year. I think we would have liked to. I think it would have been nice for us to be included in that. But Barnes is a great airport, and I think utilization is up. And I'm happy that the vice president landed here in Westfield. That was really cool.
It was cool.
How often does that happen? Right?
Not very often. I can't imagine it's maybe the first time.
I think I have not. I mean, rumor has it Amelia Earhart was in the hangar that we currently occupy up there at one point.
I believe Michelle Obama
landed. It is historical. You know.
I think Obama
did he land here?
Landed at Westfield because
Michelle did.
Oh, because the Pittsfield Airport, where Kamala Harris was going to speak, the Pittsfield Airport is real small.
Yes, it makes ours look like
like this is
like Bradley or something.
International field.
Exactly.
Are you starting any new programs academically this year?
So I mean, we're enhancing the programs that we have. That is the plan. We're looking to expand programs. We're working toward expanding a couple of programs at the high school. We're looking at a hospitality program potentially, and hoping to have a partnership there with MGM, for example. And we have the Kids Corner, or the an early childhood program there now, but we'd like it to get it. And there are some kids who go in that pathway and they're able to go to HCC and they have some articulation credits, but we would like to make it a Chapter 74 certified program, so it would be like a shop, for example, like you have here, where the students would leave with a certificate where they could actually open up their own daycare kind of thing, or go into teaching, depending on which, there's multiple levels. So those are the things we're looking at, but we're not adding that this year. But I will tell you that, two of the other renovations at Westfield High School, the science labs are being renovated right now, and they're almost done. And so they're being refreshed, essentially. I mean, everything worked, but so they're just being refreshed, and the old lab tables that were bolted down, we're moving those out and putting in flexible seating so that the kids can move around. And, that was an earmark from Senator John Vilas, so we're very appreciative of what he's done for us. And the same thing, so that there's going to be a new entrance at Westfield High School, same entrance, but a new procedure. There are going to be two sets of doors, right? So if you've ever been to Westfield High School, you get in the first set, and the main office is way over here, so you have the ability to go to anywhere else you want in the building without checking into the main office. And we wanted to eliminate that and increase safety. It's like a vestibule. So let's say a parent wants to drop off a lunch or something like that for a student. They actually don't have to go in the building anymore. They can just do it through a sliding glass window. So it's to increase safety. The new school will have that. Westfield Intermediate School has that. And we are in our capital plan is to add that at every school. So those are, aside from the tennis courts, which look beautiful, by the way, at Westfield High School. There was an article in the Westfield News yesterday with a picture of the courts. They're the high school colors. They're not typical. So we've really done a lot with that. This has been the year for us of maintenance projects, and everything costs money, so you have to do what you can with the funds that you have.
And you've got so many challenges with such a limited budget.
Right. That's why you do the best you can with what you have. And last year was a very difficult, probably one of the more difficult budget years that I've ever gone through in 9 years as superintendent, and for varying reasons. I do worry about what's going to happen moving forward. Every time there's even a recession, it affects schools, right? And people, have to understand that we are allotted a budget and we have to stay within our means. So transportation costs are up, electricity costs are up, gas. I mean, inflation affects the schools as well, and it affects our budgets.
As you look ahead, do you have a wish list of things that you want to do that maybe for your 10th anniversary as superintendents that you'll be able to fund?
One of the things we're looking at is, combining the two schools. And I know there are some people who don't want to do that, but, we work through the Massachusetts School Building Authority to get reimbursed for school buildings. So, MSBA for short is reimbursing 70% of the costs at this new elementary school. So that 30% will fall on the taxpayer here through bonds that the city council voted on. So what does that look like for a high school? And if we tried to build two high schools, that wouldn't work. This school, the portion of the building we're in right now, was built in 1962. Upper campus was built in 1931, and they built a connecting campus in 1994. This school has seen better days.
Better days.
And the high school also, which was built in 1973, but that we've actually been investing so much into the high school that I'm not sure it would qualify for an MSBA grant for a replacement, but I think this school might. So one of the things I'd like to do before I retire is hash that out so that we can have a new high school. There are a lot of communities around us that have them. Their schools were in far worse shape than either of ours at the time that they got them. But I think down the road, that I would love for that to be my legacy before retiring, is just getting a new school. And I think some people are worried about having more of a comprehensive model where it's half-day shop and half-day academics. And whereas I think it would be beneficial to do that for students in grades 9 and 10, I think students in 11 and 12 have to remain on the week of shop, week of academics system, because that's what our employers want, right? So we would do a hybrid model, but it would also increase access for students in general. Like, so right now, if a WTA student wants an AP class, they don't have access to it. But if a student from Westfield High School wants to take maybe something in auto tech, they don't have access to it. Maybe just basic car maintenance would be something we could do. So by combining the schools, we are using our resources better. Better utilization and providing more opportunities for kids while still keeping the integrity of a vocational technical high school at the same time. And think about, one of the things the students don't come to Westfield Tech for is because they don't have, say, a football team or a volleyball team. So, in 8th to 9th grade, those are some of the big factors as to which school you choose. And so they will actually go to the high school instead of coming here, even though they probably would have done better in a trade. So with one school, you could play as many sports as you want, and any extracurricular activities we aren't able to have here. It just opens up more opportunities for kids. And that's really all I try to do in my job every day is really just give kids more options, more things to do, things that they're interested in.
Well, we've only got a minute here, and it's the first full week of August. School doesn't go back for a couple of weeks. What are you going to cram in on a vacation side or playtime in the next 2 weeks?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten there. I'm still trying to, maybe a long weekend or two between now and then, somewhere in the beach that I enjoy. That would be great. But I'm also excited for the school years to start already. Isn't that something?
Yeah,
I am.
I can believe that. This is the first show that I've taped in almost a month because Pete was away and I took some time off. And I was really ramped up today to come back to work.
Absolutely. And I think for me, work is work, but the kids are what make it the best. So when they're back, it's better. And the staff, right? So now, we're doing administrative things, but being able to interact with the kids and the staff. The first 3 days of school, our central office team is out at the schools greeting staff and greeting the kids because that's the best part of our job.
And one of the things you do very well is interact with the kids. Whenever I have kids from Westfield Tech on a program, they know who you are. Some of the aviation students last spring said, "He's my friend." And I thought, well, that's great. The fact that you interact so well with kids is great.
I love being a principal and a teacher, by the way, and I do miss that. But I do get the opportunity to still interact with students, and I feel like for my own sanity, I need to continue that because it reminds me of your why. You're here for the kids and to make things better for them. So that makes me, when they're succeeding from opportunities that we've provided them, I mean, that's a win. That's success.
Stefan Czaporowski, superintendent of the Westfield Schools. Always great to have you on.
Thank you.
And we will do some co-anchoring this fall. You can catch Stefan's program after Labor Day on Thursday mornings, and it's fun. You should catch it if you have a chance. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week with another edition of On the Mark.